Hey guys, I wanted to make a video this past couple of weeks of how to install and run Windows games on Linux, and I was thinking of just doing Steam to start off with because I think Steam is, excuse me, Steam is probably the most easiest to set up in terms of games. Not like some other ones like the third-party launch apps that you use for like Overwatch and stuff like that, like Bottles and Lutris and Heroic, which they're really easy to use. But I think for a beginner that doesn't really know what the fuck they're doing, they might struggle on those apps. But I think Steam is a great starting ground for some of your games that you want to run, and it kind of teaches you what you need to use, what launch commands you can use as well. And this is just going to be a basic rundown. I'm not going to go into any experimental type of stuff where things start to get a bit more confusing. We're just going to go through the basics of how to get, Proton in use, and how to launch your games. So the first thing I would do is install Steam, since some people may not have it installed. On my distro, it is pre-installed, which if you don't know what this distro is, we are currently running bloody Nobara, which is Fedora, but it's maintained by Glorious Eggroll, which if you don't know who Glorious Eggroll is, he's a person that maintains this distro and also creates a custom version of Proton called Protondb and a custom version of Wine called WineGE. And those are some of the Proton versions that I'll be teaching you how to install. So, like I said, you want to grab Steam, which for me, we can grab it from the Discover store. And I just search Steam here, and we're already on the store page for it, and we're going to grab it from our RPM repository. You can also grab it with the FlatHub package, but one of the issues with Steam on a Flatpak is there's a lot of restrictions to what Steam can see out of the Flatpak version, which if you don't know, Flatpak is like a containerized app basically, so it doesn't really have many permissions to access outside of that sandboxed environment. So it can't really access your home directory or your root directory. So that's why I usually install just the one that's included in the distro, because it will have permissions to access certain things. Like for example, I can add it, but I have to use an extra app. But I can't add my second SSD that it actually has my games installed. I can't do it on Flatpak, but I need to use another app called FlatSeal to give the permission to Steam to actually see the disk. While on the regular Steam version, the RPM package, I don't have to do any of that. It just sees it and I can add it, and it's that simple as that. So after you've installed Steam, you can of course log in, launch it, and the first thing we want to do is go into our settings, and we want to go to Steam Play, which is where we'll be enabling so you can actually use Proton. Because without this enabled, basically Steam looks pretty fucking stale in your library. A lot of games are like grayed out, and there's only a couple games, basically Valve games, and I think like Terraria, that are natively supported. I have my things categorized so it doesn't come up correctly, but like for example Rocket League and Valheim, they have updates because it's gonna install the native versions of those, which for Rocket League isn't even, its native version isn't even supported on Linux, and I don't even know why it even exists in the library anymore. It should be removed. But yeah, basically when you launch it, you want to go to settings, Steam Play, enable Steam Play for supported titles, and it says here Steam Play will automatically install compatibility tools that allow you to play games from your library that were built for other operating systems. So basically it's saying we're going to enable all your games which are supported on Windows and maybe Mac OS, but we're going to use the Windows versions, and it's going to use compatibility tools to make them work. And basically that's it. You want to click OK, and it will ask you to restart. So you restart, and after it boots up, we can go to our library and we can try our first set up our first game. So we're going to do Apex Legends. That's pretty easy, I would say. There's no real issues with that game running through Proton. And for me, we're running through Proton Experimental. Now, if we go, there's a lot of versions of Proton, and it may be a bit daunting of like, which version do I use? And I always bounce around based on the change log of new versions of Proton, or going onto the the Proton the Proton GitHub page and looking through the type of commits that they're doing to fixing stuff. I may bounce around, but for the most part, I either stick with experimental or Proton GE's Glorious Egg Rolls version of Proton. So we're going to use Proton Experimental, and also with Proton Experimental, this is basically like one of the versions that Steam will use before they do like bring it to the next release. So what we have here is we got like Proton 7, Proton 6.3. These are all previous versions. We also have like Proton X7, for example. So when you have like a game or whatever, it gets brought into here when there's like fixes being done. And we're on the bleeding edge one, so that's even newer than the normal Proton Experimental. And if you want to enable that, you can go into betas and you can enable it here. And it will say it's going to like do basically have the latest and untested DXVK, VKD 3D, Proton, and wine changes, and all that. I've had no issues with Proton Experimental Bleeding Edge. It's actually pretty nice, and for some reason Steam is auto-updating some games. Why are you doing that? Anyways, basically, yeah, we're going to use Proton Experimental. You can use basically any of these versions, but I would just stick to Experimental, the latest version of like the mainline version and the custom GE version. And that's it, basically. You enable this, you force it, gotta tick this on. So I can select Experimental, and we can't launch it because for some reason it's downloading 56 gigs. I don't know why. Maybe it doesn't see my Steam library? No, it does. It's a bit odd. Anyways, I guess we could try Battlefield 5, for example. So we're using GE Proton 743. We launch it, and basically we just wait for it to launch. Now, some games don't work that great and they will break. Example, EA games have a lot of issues when they bring updates to the EA desktop app, which is just launching right now. There's been a lot of issues with this desktop. While before, when it was on Origin, it was pretty okay because they weren't really updating it. But Valve is making sure that the EA desktop app actually works, because they've made so many fixes this past few months where the app gets an update and then it doesn't want to fucking launch, and then Valve has to go fix it instead of EA themselves fixing it, which is a bit of an, bit of an arsehole move, I would say. I think EA should be fixing the app and not Valve, and Valve spending all their money. And basically there we go. So now it has launched. As we can see here, we can go into it and it will basically load up and that will disappear. We also have Mango HUD installed, which I'll teach you how to do that in a minute with launch commands. But yeah, this is basically it. You launch the game, wait for it to load, and there you go. And it's running. That's simple. Now we can click quit. It will fucking close at some point. You can tab out. We can stop it here. That's about it. We can go into launch options, which is another thing that we can talk about. And basically, we don't have to do this. This is not necessary. But there's definitely one that I always enable called game mode run, which basically is like a scheduler that changes the scheduling within the kernel to prioritize the game over other services, which can greatly improve performance. I haven't noticed any difference in performance when taking it out and using without it enabled, and then using it enabled. There's like no difference really, but I always enable it just in case if something happens and there's like an app that like wants to use more of my CPU or something like that, and then game mode run can stop that from happening. Then we have Mango HUD equals 1. which enables Mango HUD. And basically, if you want to get that enabled, you can grab Go Overlay, which is another app, which is an app to control Mango HUD and customize it. And we can launch it here. And you can see all the customizations you can do already in here. If it wants to launch, do you want to launch today or no? There we go. So you can basically change whatever you want. If we go to extras, we can enable certain things to show up within this little box, and you can see the frame timing and all that. That's basically it for Mango HUD. We can also, I have OBS game capture, which lets me capture the window of the game through Vulkan and OpenGL stuff. I don't know the specifics, but basically it just captures the Vulkan window, or if you're running an OpenGL game, it will capture the OpenGL window. And then you add a command here to actually make these commands work, and that's basically it when it comes to games running on Linux through Proton. And it's pretty fucking easy. It's gotten really easy versus a couple of years ago when it was decently easy, but it was still in the works with Valve stuff. We can have a look at Lutris, for example. I've been using Lutris because on bottles I have a little weird issue where the Blizzard app, the wine server crashes, and so the Blizzard app freezes when it first launches. That's an issue I've always got, and it happens on Lutris as well. But the one issue is that I can't bloody close it on bottles on KDE. Well, on GNOME I can, but on KDE I can't. So I use Lutris and I just click stop and it will actually close it. So it's really cool. And we have Overwatch 2 installed already here, so this is pretty easy to launch. There you go, it's launching it. And I would say Lutris is probably the one you should start off with instead of Bottles. Bottles is a bit more advanced and it gives you a lot more options, and some people think it's a bit more confusing. I personally like Bottles more because it gives you so many options to change things, while on Lutris it's kind of like it just puts you through an install script and that's it. It does everything for you. Then it tells you to like, for example, when you install Overwatch, it's like, oh, close the Blizzard app and you're done with the installation, and you can sign in and that's it. While on Bottles, it does the installation for you, but you need to like preset things up before launching the Blizzard installer. And that's basically it. Like, click play on here and it will launch just like the Windows version on the Blizzard app. It's that easy, really. And there you go, it's entering the game, and we can easily start playing. And yeah, that's about it. There we go. So yeah, I don't really know how to make this video. Like a couple of weeks ago, I was like, I don't know if I really want to make this video. I'm not really experienced in the Linux ecosystem because I've only been using Linux for about a few months now, and I've been really enjoying it and learning just about everything that it has to offer and how to get things working, like games. But yeah, if you guys like this video, you can hit the sub button. I really don't fucking care. You can hit the like button as well, and comment down below if I missed anything or didn't explain things correctly. You know, I'm all for suggestions on how to improve my videos as well. This is not really like a channel that I'm going to make many videos on. It's just for fun, really. You know, just teaching people and showing people benchmarks of different games. But yeah, if you like the video, and if you want to sub, you can. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.